I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the share, where Miss Dream always has a story.
I'm Dream, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hair boards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Kache. Kache, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Kache. I'm so very pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you. I was getting ready to introduce myself with some context, but I'm sure we'll get into it. So it'll come up naturally.
I am building a platform called The Chair to support black and brown people on their hair journey. And it's so important to highlight all these different hair journeys and hair stories to show why my platform is important and all the nuances when it comes to black hair. And so I wanted to know, do you have a story or memory of the first time you fell in love with your hair?
I don't particularly remember a time hating my hair. I went through an period of time where I had a relaxer I was so pressed. Oh man, I was pressed to get this relaxer. And this was 8th grade. And then I only kept a relaxer for like a year and a half, 2 years. And I remember by the time junior prom came, I was completely natural. I went to prom with some flat twists. The plan was for it to be a twist out, but in true Shay fashion, I didn't leave the hairdresser enough time for everything to have dried. And so whatever, I went with twist backs. And I remember folks thinking that was edgy. So this is mid 90s, moving into late 90s. And that wasn't necessarily the wave yet. This natural hair renaissance that we're seeing, resurgence, it hadn't quite happened just yet. And so it was still sort of like, girl, what do you do? Like, it wasn't seen as a style choice. It was seen as like, Shay, what you ain't leave a hairdresser soon? You know what I mean? It was seen as that. And I remember feeling like a new level of self-awareness had been unlocked. I was someone who I'd wear cornrows, I'd wear head wraps, I would wear a fro out, I'd slick it back on my little itty bitty inches, I'd slick it back and just be okay. I didn't think too much of it. I was not someone who was ultra focused on like my hair is my strength or my hair is so deep tied to my community. That wasn't really my journey. My hair was mine. It was an extension of me. And so I thought of it in that way, the same way that I thought about all of the ways that my personhood showed up, but never something like separate and apart from just the journey of Kache figuring out who Kache is and loving on her. You flash forward, I'm a PCOS warrior. Anyone who's got hormonal disruptions or idiosyncrasies understands that those things do any number of things to your skin, to your hair, to the way on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who has always dealt with cycles of hair loss and regrowth, hair really flourishing, being super healthy, to hair looking like it just want up and leave my whole scalp, and that and not care nothing about what my plans are. I just kind of learned to that's part of who Shay is, embodying this body that I'm in. So I just learned to deal with it. I hit my 40s, and it felt like for a while my hair didn't want to do anything I had wanted it to do. If I got braids, it was fuzzing up the next day. If I got a press, it was finished before I walked up. Like just anything. You've seen me. So, I got this round face and these glasses, and I'm super short, and people tend to think I am a lot younger than I am. And for no other reason other than I think they think I look like a child. Because I got chucks on and I'm cutting up. Ain't no telling. And so I would notice when I wore my hair certain ways, people received my messaging in various ways. And I thought, this is interesting. I might be full on flirting with somebody, which I don't do often, but I do sometimes. And so if my hair's out in this fro, they're like hitting me with the P, sister. And like they're trying to, they're not necessarily understanding. I might be shooting a shot, but they're like trying to recruit me to plan a block protest or something, which is great, which is fine. But I just noticed that people actually really were responding to whatever my aesthetics were more than maybe I had tapped in to think about critically in a really long time. Or if I had braids, depending on the length of the braids or what color I might have braided in, it's a whole world of things. And then the world of wigs opened up to me for no other reason other than like I was running out of steam for like trying to be creative on my own things. And then that tapped into a different way that people engaged or commented on what they felt was my outward appearance. Anyone who knows me knows if it's a day I got a wig on, honey, I will unstrap this thing and let my scalp breathe in the middle of our conversation if that's what I feel like doing. It's the same for instance. If I have my hair wrapped up, some days I feel the need to be covered in that way for reasons that may or may not have anything to do with aesthetics. I made conscious decisions to not really ever tie up too much of how I felt about myself through my hair, because that could change. How I present could change on any given day. And it's always been important to me that no matter what's happening, but yeah, for me to know who I am, but also for me to be very sure of who I'm not and what I'm not about, because I feel like that keeps me grounded and on my way and making the right decisions for me. So hair sometimes plays a part in that, but probably not as much as I think the narrative would say for Black women of my age.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hair boards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hair boards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife in The chair. The chair. The chair. All right.
Can you help me understand this a little better? How your journey with your hair, the way you approach your hair, telling people what you are not. What does that mean?
Yeah. So, for instance, I'm the woman who, if you compliment me on a dress, I'm going to tell you it's got pockets. I'm going to tell you where you can get it. And I am the same way with hair. If someone's like, oh, girl, you having a good hair day. If it's a wig day, I'm going to tell them, babe, check out this site. You too can get you a Wanda. That's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, with seasons where my hair is not necessarily cooperating in the way that I think it should, I am intentional about sharing things that soothe my scalp or things that are really making my coils pop. And I think in being transparent with folks, with sisters, with sometimes dads of daughters will want to chat about things.
Mm.
I think what I'm signaling to people and what I hope I'm signaling to them is that I'm not so bound up in anything that's got to do with this earthly show that it's too precious to talk about,
Mm.
especially as you deal with the spectrum of wellness. I have days physically, the hair being the least of it, right? I have days where physically what I'm going through and how I'm feeling shows up in my skin. I also have a rare autoimmune disorder that impacts my liver,
Mm.
and it does all sorts of things to my skin, my mood, my energy levels, all sorts of things that can be invisible because people don't necessarily always know how you're feeling if you don't look like you're feeling bad. And so for me, the signaling is like, yo, we have such a gift in whichever amount of time we get to share this earthly experience that I ain't too caught up on hair, nails, body configuration, any of it. It's okay if others are. But as for me and my temple, the things that Shay is concerned about aren't really of that variety. So, for instance, if people want to have like, oh, girl, you try this thing because you know you can grow your hair down to your butt bone. That's cool, but those aren't going to necessarily be the longer, more intimate dialogues that I have. It's not a lens that I prioritize.
Mm.
I think that that's a signal, especially as an aunt of nieces. Shout out to Black Boy Joy and our fellas needing to have that same body confidence and sense of self beauty and worth. But especially as an aunt of nieces, I want them to know that Auntie Shay is particular about some things, but most of all, particular about loving on me and making sure I demand and expect that of others.
Mm.
And Shay gonna do what feel good to her, so long as it's causing no harm. And I want for the girls to know that too, whether they're rocking their Sakai, my niece, shout out to her. She's got these fancy edges she does with her puffs, and I just love it. I love it. She doesn't know I look at her and I'm thinking about Lady of Rage.
Yes.
But I'm thinking just about all the sisters before her who were like just really leaning into whatever it is they might feel like doing. And I love that for her. My niece, Sela, depends how she's feeling. She's going to put a funky little braid in her hair and serve. And I love all of it. And I think as an older woman in their life,
Mm.
I want to signal to them that whatever I decide to do with me and my form is all right, especially and most importantly, if it's all right with me. And so I think I do communicate some of that in how I style or don't style my hair.
Mm. Yeah, it makes me think about. So I also had PCOS. I was
Mm,
diagnosed when I was 12, 13. I also have HS, which I learned about when I was 22, which is chronic
yep,
skin issue. And so my PCOS and my HS are frenemies. So depending on the day, they trigger each
that's
other.
right.
They trigger each other. And so I have this big afro that I've been working on. But
Hmm.
my PCOS is different, where my hormonal imbalance is terrible and
Hmm.
stress makes it worse. And then that is what starts, I shed a lot more. So my hair
Okay.
starts to shed, even though it's thick, I start shedding so much and then it starts to thin. So then when my hair feels more brittle, and they're like, oh, you just need to add this type of cream to your hair. And I'm like, well,
Like,
when I'm less stressed, the brittleness isn't intense. Like, so then I started to learn that, oh, when I'm stressed, it messes with my hormones. That also triggers my HS. And I was like, okay, Dream. It doesn't matter how many creams we have on the dresser. If we don't figure out how to lessen your stress level, it's going to still mess up your skin. And if you don't figure out how to work on your hormone balances, it's also going to mess up your hair and skin. And how all those three in my body are having this really intense conversation daily. I love chocolate. Chocolate is the give me
Hey,
any
of course.
right, give me any chocolate, right? But my mother knows that if I eat chocolate, my skin breaks out. I'm not supposed to eat it. So that's how my mother knows if I've always snuck some
Add a
chocolate.
little salt.
Yeah. She's like, did you have some chocolate? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Right. And so it was always like a signal. And
Yeah.
so my hair has become another signal that I'm now highly aware of, and being able to really think about how I'm focused on my hair in a different way in terms of health. Like, yes, people are like, oh, it's thick, oh, it's big. And I'm like, yes, but that was secondary to really figuring out the health part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so you talking about being a PCOS warrior, it really has me thinking a lot about how my skin and hair journey, I was focusing on it together at one point. Now I can separate the two. Like, I'm still working on figuring out
Mm-hmm.
my skin journey, because my PCOS and HS are frenemies. Some days they're better, some days it's worse. And then also I learned, depending on the season, I'm having a great time or I'm having a terrible time. So I'm like trying new scrubs and things, but then I'm learning, oh, that's different than the hair mask. Okay, hair masks don't do well for me. It just makes my skin irritated. But scrubs do well. So it's like a trial and error thing that I've been doing for the last 5 years, and I'm getting good. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But it's such an interesting conversation in relation to hair. It's not just, oh, I'm thinking only about hair. Sometimes it's hair and skin. Sometimes it's hair, skin, and health. Sometimes it's XXXX thing, and hair is showing this outward response to how you feel internally.
All right.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere: Capture the Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I think that it's such a, and this is the beauty of, certainly you and I know one another. This is the beauty of creating safe space among sisters to talk about whatever may be on our hearts or our mind. I think about when I first started wearing wigs. There were some people who were like, "What? Like, let your hair? Like, I love your hair. Let your hair." And I'm like, "You." Let me say something. What my hair likes. My hair likes to be well moisturized and left alone. It doesn't like a lot of manipulation, especially if there are other things going on, right? Like, especially if, like you mentioned, high stress. If there's going to be periods that demand a protective style that I don't have to manipulate much. Because my hair also and my scalp really also like long leisurely dates. They really like time being nourished. And it makes wash day longer than maybe my schedule might allow, with planning things out and earmarking time and so on and so forth. And just as we talk about our edges, there was a period of time where I was like, oh, okay, see, my stress patch shows up in the center to the right and in the center. Like, I know things ain't well. That's going to be my first little spot that's going to let me know that thing is amiss.
Yeah, I get this gray patch in the back. I've had it ever since I was a kid, so people always thought I was older because I get this intense gray patch of hair. And the more stressed I am, the bigger it grows. So when I'm not stressed, it turns back to black. And people are like,
It-
are you a superhero? I'm like,
Are-
I wish.
And so I know, right? So I'm like, okay, so you got to do a little less. I have the braids, or if I'm wearing a updo or something, or if I'm wearing my hair loose, I know what I need to do and how to shift gears. And then back out comes the wigs, because what I have learned to do is listen to my body. And not that I think I started to say that a lot of times people would think it's that any enhancement or difference or anything that people think you've done, if you're not careful, people will talk to you as if you don't love yourself, or as you're worried about the outward gaze. For me, it's like, well, really, what I love about this particular, same thing I loved about braids, but the thing I love about this particular chamber when I choose to utilize it is that I can have my nuts and my berries and my oils going, and my conditioning cap on, and still go about my day, have my meetings, show up wherever I need to show up. And what Shay's doing for self-care is playing well with what I have to do professionally in this capitalist world we live in. And so that in and of itself is a self-care mechanism. But then figuring out which conversations to engage in or disengage from is also a self-care practice. Because sometimes, and I'm sure you know this, sometimes people's prescriptive conversations, descriptive conversations of what they think is going on with us or could be going on with us based on what they think they see and understand, can be helpful, but it also can be annoying. For some people, it can even be a pain point. And just making sure that we cultivate safe space amongst people who we know want to give and get good information or just hold space for us is so important, because we get all kinds of messaging about what we should and shouldn't be doing, what we should and shouldn't be wearing, who we are if we do a thing, who we are if we don't do a thing. This particular moment specific to us feels really beautiful for me. And then I'm just thinking about the really beautiful and powerful space that you're creating, the chair. And so rock on.
No, thank you. No, I truly appreciate it. Like, at the end of the day, I really want to create a community in a world and a platform to support all of us on our hair journey, from
Yeah.
anybody from the smallest of detail to the biggest issue that you feel that is taking over your life. I want you to know that there are people out there who are just like you. They may happen to be in California or Kansas or Kentucky or London, but if they find my site and be like, I need help here, that's my dream, is for that to happen. And so we're starting small, but that's the goal.
Mighty though. You think of
Yes.
it. Small acts chop big tree. It is certainly wellness in and of itself is a huge thing. And then finding community or communities within wellness can be a challenge. It can be a challenge. We share this PCOS journey.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and I was late to being diagnosed. Shout out to the U.S. health system. And you know what I mean? And just
Yeah, it's funny.
what it
I was
can be
early
of,
and they didn't give me any support that was helpful. So
you know what I mean? What it can mean to be having a medical journey in this Black body. And so, anyways, and I don't know, to your point, I don't know that it would have made any difference if I had an official diagnosis earlier or not. I do know that it lent some insight into some of my other health challenges. But I was like, oh. But when I first was putting language, and I knew what PCOS was, but it's one of those things where it's like I had normalized not feeling well in some ways. I had normalized, because I was dealing with symptoms that came in cycles like forever, since like 12. I just kind of had normalized some things. So anyway, started looking into some of these support groups and Facebook, all of these things to just kind of glean some insight, tap into what other people were experiencing or researching or whatever else. And I quickly found that I was like, oh, okay, I got to find where the Black women are. I'm going to have to find a very specific Black women group. It surprised me that I hadn't innately done that anyway, that I just kind of started broad, but it in very short order. I was like, oh yeah, from hyperpigmentation to all the different ways that it shows up.
so
Things,
different.
yeah. If it's bloating, we see as a wellness metric, just all these different things. I said, yeah, just even with the World Wide Web being the great resource that it is, there are still such tiny spaces earmarked out sometimes. And we have to take up space, and we got to make sure we are each other's keepers in terms of holding space and creating it. So I don't mean to belabor the point, but I do definitely salute you and wish you all of the energy and innovation and power that you're going to need for the journey.
Oh, thank you. Well, Kache, I truly appreciate you sitting in the chair and sharing your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that one star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your...
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story. Where we share